Hi everyone, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet the Rosie cardigan, which has all of this really pretty detailing all around the top. So this cardigan can be made in a number of different sizes, and for all of the information on how to make the different sizes, please see the description box below. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. To begin your cardigan, you want to start off by making a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. You then want to take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook, go in through this space and pull tight, and there we have a slip knot. And now once you have your slip knot, we are now going to make our foundation chain, and we are going to chain 64. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 64. I have finished making my foundation chain, and now we can move on to round 1. So to begin round 1, we are going to work 1 double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second chain, and you want to yarn over and go down into this chain, the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops on your hook. So there we have 1 double crochet into that chain, and we're just going to keep working double crochets all the way along for round 1. So 1 double crochet into every single chain. So you want to do 1 double crochet into this next chain here, and then 1 into the next chain, and just keep working that for round 1. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 1, and at the end of that round you should find that you worked 63 double crochets, and it's really important that you have that number. So I would recommend that just at the start here you go back and double check that you do have 63 before you carry on with the rest of your cardigan. So then once you have done that, we can now move on to round 2. So to begin round 2, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So in this round, we're going to start off by doing 1 double crochet down into this first stitch here, as our chain 1 did not count as a stitch. So go down into this first one and do 1 double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. But now into the next one, you want to do 2 double crochets. So yarn over, go down into this next stitch and work 2 double crochets both into this one, like that. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way around for round 2. So you want to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 into the next, and 2 into the next, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, all the way along. So I'm going to do that once more. And just keep repeating that. So I'm just coming to the end of round 2, so I have done that all the way along, and I have one last set of those stitches left to work. So I have 3 stitches left to go into, and I'm going to do 1, 1, 2. But what I like to do is, just to make the edges a little bit neater, is I like to just chop this last set of stitches around a little bit. So you don't have to do this, you can just continue on working your sets as normal if you think that's what you want to do. But I like to do, when I have my last set, I like to do 1 double crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the next one, and then 1 double crochet into the very last stitch. And that just saves us from having 2 double crochets into the very last stitch at the end here. So instead of doing 1 1 2, we have done 1 2 1, and that saves us from having 2 double crochets into this last stitch, which if you do have 2 double crochets into that last one, you might find that your edge kind of comes out a little bit and you don't have such a neat edge. So that's what I like to do. And then at the end of that round, you should have 84 double crochets. And now we can move on to round 3. So to begin round 3, you want to chain 1 and turn. And this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So round 3 is very similar to round 2, but instead of doing 1 1 2 all the way along, we are going to do 1 double crochet into 3 stitches and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch all the way along. So start off by doing 1 down into this very first stitch here, then do 1 double crochet down into the next stitch, and then 1 into the third one along, and then work 2 double crochets into the next one. And you just want to keep working that all the way along for round 3. 1 1 1 2 1 1 1 2. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 3, and when I got to the end of that round during my last set, I did the same thing as I did last round, and I just switched that last set of stitches around a little bit so that I didn't end up with 2 double crochets into the last stitch at the end. So for my last set of those stitches, instead of doing 1 1 1 2, I did 1 1 2 1. And now we can move on to round 4, and at the end of that round you should have 105 double crochets. So to begin round 4, you want to chain 1 and turn, and as usual this doesn't count as a stitch. So we're going to start off by going down into this first stitch here and work 1 double crochet. So do 1 double crochet down into the first stitch, like that. And now you want to skip the next stitch, so we're going to skip 1 stitch, and then into the next stitch we're going to do double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So we're going to do a little V. So yarn over, skip this one, and into the next stitch work 1 double crochet, chain 1 and 2, and then do a second double crochet back down into that same stitch, like that. So there we have done a V into that stitch, and now you want to skip the next stitch. And we're just going to keep repeating that all the way along. You want to do a double crochet into the next stitch, then skip the next stitch, then do a V into this stitch. So we're going to do double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that one, and then skip the next stitch. And then do that again, double crochet, skip 1, a V into the next, and then skip 1, and just keep repeating that all the way along. So I'm just coming to the end of round 4, so I have done my last V here and skip 1, and then you should find that you have 1 stitch left at the end, and you want to do a double crochet into this final stitch, like that. And there we have finished round 4, and we can move on to round 5. So to begin round 5, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So in this round, we're going to start off by going down into this first double crochet and work 1 double crochet. So yarn over and work 1 double crochet into the double crochet. And now we are going to skip on to our first V here, and we are going to go into the chain space, so into the chain 2 space of the V, and we are going to do our first shell. And for a shell, we're going to do 2 double crochets together, chain 1, 2 double crochets together, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets together, all down into this chain space of the V. So yarn over and go down into the chain space and work 2 double crochets together. So to do that, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And there we have 1 incomplete double crochet, and now you want to move on to the next one. So yarn over, go back down into the chain space, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2 more loops. So there we have 2 incomplete double crochets, and you should have 3 loops on your hook, and you want to yarn over and pull through all 3. And there we have done 2 double crochets together into that chain space. And now you want to chain 1, and we are going to do that again. You want to do 2 double crochets together, back down into that same chain space of the V there. And now chain 1, and then you want to do a third and final set of 2 double crochets together into that same space. Like that. So there we have done our first shell. So we have 3 sets of 2 double crochets together with a chain 1 in between them. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way along for round 5 into each individual double crochet from last round. So here and here and here, you want to do 1 double crochet, and then into the middle of each V from last round, so here, here and here, into the chain space, you want to do a shell. So we're going to move on to the next individual double crochet, so this one, and we're going to do 1 double crochet into this stitch, and then we're going to move on to the next V, and into the chain space we're going to do a shell. So do 2 double crochets together, chain 1, 2 more double crochets together into the same space, chain 1, and then a third and final set of 2 double crochets together, like that. And now you want to do that all again. So do a double crochet into this next individual double crochet here, and then do a shell into this next chain space of the next V. So like that. And you just want to keep repeating that all the way along for round 5. Double crochet shell, double crochet shell. So there we have come to the end of round 5, and when you get to the end you want to do a double crochet into this last individual double crochet at the end of the round. And now we can move on to round 6. So to begin round 6 you want to chain 1 and turn, and as usual this doesn't count as a stitch. So we're going to start off by going down into this stitch here, so into this double crochet, and work 1 double crochet, like that. And now we have reached our first shell, and we are going to go into each of the 2 chain 1 spaces in this shell, and we're going to do a V into each one. And for this round, round 6, whenever we do a V, we're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So you want to go to, So you want to go to the first shell, and we have our first chain 1 space here in between the sets of 2 double crochets together, and we're going to yarn over and go down into this chain 1 space and do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, like that. And now you want to go to the second chain 1 space of this shell, so this one here in between these 2 sets of 2 double crochets together, and we're going to do the same thing, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, like that. And we're going to keep working that all the way along for round 6 into each double crochet from last round, so in between the shells, so here, 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 here. You just want to do 1 double crochet into that stitch, and then when we get to the shells, we're going to go into each chain 1 space and work a V. So we're going to go to the next double crochet here and do 1 double crochet into that stitch, and then move on to the next shell and go to the first chain 1 space and do a V into this space. And remember, a V is double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all into the same space, and then go to the second chain 1 space of the shell and do the same thing, another V. Like that. And now we're going to repeat that again. You want to go to the next double crochet here from last round, so in between the shells, and do 1 double crochet. And then you want to go to the next shell and into each of these chain spaces do a V. So like that, and you just want to keep repeating that all the way along, so it should be double crochet, V, V, double crochet, V, V, all the way along. So I'm just coming to the end of round 6, so I have done my final 2 V's there, and then we're going to finish off by doing a double crochet into this last stitch at the end. So you need to finish off with 1 double crochet. And there we have finished round 6, and we're ready to move on to round 7. So to begin round 7, you want to chain 1 and turn, and as usual, this doesn't count as a stitch. So we're going to start off this round by doing 1 double crochet into this last double crochet at the end here. So you want to start this round by working 1 double crochet into this first stitch. And now we are going to move on to our 2 V's that we have here from last round. And we are going to go in between the 2 V's and work a shell. So here we have the first one and the second one, and we're going to go into this space in between them, so in between the 2 V's from last round, and we're going to work a shell, and we're going to do a shell in the exact same way as we did before down here. You want to do 2 double crochets together, chain 1, 2 double crochets together, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets together, all into the same space. So yarn over, go into the space between these first 2 V's here and work 2 double crochets together, then chain 1, and then do a second set of 2 double crochets together into the same space, chain 1, and then a third set of 2 double crochets together. And there we have worked a shell in between those V's. And now we're going to move on to our next individual double crochet here. So we have our next double crochet, and we're going to go down into this stitch and work 1 double crochet. So yarn over, go into the next individual double crochet and work a double crochet. And now we're going to do the same thing when we come to these next 2 V's here. We're going to go into the space in between them and work a shell. So yarn over, go in between the 2 and do 2 double crochets together, chain 1, 2 double crochets together, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets together, all down into the same space, like that. And you just want to keep repeating this all the way along for round 7 into each individual double crochet from last round. So here and here and here, where we just did 1 double crochet into 1 stitch last round, you want to do a double crochet into that stitch, and then you want to work a shell in between the 2 V's. So we're going to do double crochet, shell, double crochet, shell, all the way around. And remember, whenever you do a shell, you want to do 3 sets of 2 double crochets together with 2 chain 1s in between them. So keep repeating that for round 7. I have worked that all the way along for round 7, so I have worked my last shell in between these 2 V's here, and then we're going to finish off by doing a double crochet into the last stitch at the end. So there we have finished round 7, and we can now move on to round 8. So for the next 2 rounds, so for rounds 8 and 9, we are just going to repeat the last 2 rounds that we just did. So for round 8, you want to repeat round 6, and then for round 9, you want to repeat round 7. And you can go back in the video and rewatch those rounds as many times as you need to, or if you have the written pattern, it will all be written out on there. So for round 8, we're just repeating round 6, and then for round 9, you want to repeat round 7. So go ahead and do those 2 rounds. have finished working those 2 rounds, so I have come to the end of round 9, and this is what you should have at the end of that round. And now we can move on to round 10. So round 10 is a really important round, as in this round we are going to be adding in the shape of our cardigan. So what we're going to do is we're going to work along a certain number of stitches for the first half of the front. We're then going to skip a certain number of stitches for the first sleeve, work along a certain number of stitches for the back, skip some more stitches for the other sleeve, and then work along another number of stitches for the other half of the front. So to begin round 10, you want to chain 1, and as usual this does not count as a stitch. So we're going to start off by doing 1 double crochet into each of the first 5 stitches. So you want to go down into this first stitch here and do 1 double crochet, then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And then our next stitch here is a chain 1. So rather than trying to go down into that little chain 1, just go down into the chain 1 space. It's much easier. So do 1 double crochet into that stitch there. Then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And then the 5th one along, and that's a chain there. So we're just going to go down into the chain space. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets, 1 into each stitch. And now into the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So work 2 both into this next stitch. Like that. And you want to repeat that 3 more times. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into 5 stitches, then 2 into the next 3 more times. So there I have worked those repeats, so I have that set of stitches 4 times in total, and this is going to create the first half of the front. And now we can move on to the first sleeve, and for this sleeve we're going to start off by chaining 3. So you want to chain 1, 2 and 3, and now you want to skip 30 stitches. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 30, and these little chains here in our shells count as a stitch. So you're just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 30. So here is my 30th stitch, so I'm going to skip that one, and then into the next stitch, this would be the 31st one along, we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, go down into this stitch, so this is the 31st one along, and you should find that this is an individual double crochet here. Go down into this stitch and work 1 double crochet, nice and neat. And there we have created our first sleeve, and we get this pretty shell stitch pattern all the way around the sleeve. And now we can move on to making the back, and we're going to continue working the same set of stitches that we were just doing. So 5 double crochets, then 2 double crochets into the next stitch along for the back, but we're going to do that set of stitches 8 times. So we have done 1 double crochet here, and this counts as our first one. So now we're going to do 1 into the second stitch along, and the third, and remember this is just a little chain 1, so go down into the space, then a 4th, a 5th, and we're going back down into that chain 1 space, and then into the next stitch we're going to do 2 double crochets. So there we have our first set of 1 double crochet into 5 and 2 into the next, and you want to do that 7 more times or 8 times in total for the back. So I have done that 8 times for the back. So I did 2 double crochets into this last stitch there, and now we're going to create our next sleeve, and we're going to do the exact same thing as the other one. You want to chain 3 and then skip 30 stitches. So I'm going to chain 3, and now count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 30. Here is my 30th stitch, and we're going to skip this one, and then we're going to go into the next stitch. So you should find that this is an individual double crochet, and we are going to do a double crochet. So that would be the 31st one along. And now you just want to continue working your sets of 5 double crochets and then 2 into the next, all the way along this section for the other half of the front. So I have finished working that all the way along, and you should have found that you did that 4 more times for the other half of the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have done 2 double crochets at the end here, and you should find that you have 1 stitch left, and we are just going to do 1 double crochet into this last stitch at the very end of the round. And there we have finished round 10. So this is what you should have, and this is the front. This is the right side of our work. So where we have the right side of the shells, this is the inside where you have the wrong side of the shells. This is the right side, so I'm going to turn mine the right way around, and this is what you should have at the end of round 10. We have our little cardigan shape. And now we can move on to round 11. So to begin round 11, you want to chain 1 and turn, and as usual, this doesn't count as a stitch. So chain 1 and turn, and I forgot to mention that at the end of round 10, you should have 112 stitches, and that includes the 6 chains that we have 3. So we have 3 chains underneath each arm, and those 6 chains count as a stitch. So you should have 119, including the chains underneath the arm. And now we're on to round 11. So we have chain 1 and turned, and we're going to start off by doing 1 double crochet into each of the first 4 stitches. So do 1 down into this first stitch, and then 1 into the next, and the 3rd one along, and the 4th. And now we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into 4 stitches. So do 2 into this next one, and then 1 into 4, like that. And you just want to continue working this all the way around. You want to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch, then 1 double crochet into 4 stitches, then 2 into the next one, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches all the way around. So we're doing 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. And when you get to underneath the arms, remember each of these chains count as a stitch. So you just want to continue your pattern into these chains. So work that all the way around for round 11. So once you have come to the end of round 11, you should find that you have 142 double crochets in that round. And then for the rest of your cardigan, you just want to do rounds of plain double crochet. So to begin each round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and that never counts as a stitch, and then just do 1 double crochet into every single stitch. And in each round, you should find that you still have 142. So you want to keep doing rounds of plain double crochet until you have the length cardigan that you want. And I did 10 rounds of plain double crochet for mine. So you can see here I have round 10 and then 11, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds of plain double crochet. And once you come to the end of your last repeat, so the end of the last round, so you have the length that you want to fasten off, leaving a tail to weave in later. And then the very last thing that you need to do is work a single crochet border up the side of each of the openings up each of the sides. So just work a single crochet border up each side. And for my borders, I always like to go down 0.5mm crochet hook size. So I used a 4mm hook for my cardigan. So I used a 3.5mm hook for my border. And that just makes it a lot easier as you're going into the side of the stitches. It makes it a lot easier to have a smaller hook, and it also makes it a lot neater. So I started down the bottom, so attach your yarn at the bottom of the left hand side and work single crochets evenly, one into the side of each stitch here, up until you get to the top, and then you want to fasten off and then attach your yarn at the top of the other side and go all the way down doing the same thing and fasten off when you get to the bottom. And then just a little tip, you may find that your cardigan kind of has a tiny little v-neck effect here at the top. Sometimes you don't get it, but sometimes you do when working these first rounds. So let me show you on this one. So you can see at the top of this cardigan I have this tiny little v-neck effect here. What you can do is when you get to the top and you're working your single crochets evenly up the side of your border, when you get to the top where it starts going in, you can switch to half double crochet, and that just makes the stitches at the top a little bit longer, and that will make your border really neat. So it will give you a really nice neat straight line. So you might not have to do that if your edges are really neat and straight, then just work single crochets up the sides evenly. But if you do find that it goes in and you have that small v-neck effect, when it starts to go in, then you can switch to half double crochet just to make the border a bit longer and even it out. And if you find it really goes in, then you could even switch to double crochet, and that will still make it look nice and neat. And then once you have finished making your borders, you can fasten off and then weave all of your ends nice and securely into the inside. And then the very last thing that you need to do is add a button to the top of one side, or 1 or 2 or 3 buttons, however many you want, and then work chain loops on the opposite side. So just attach your yarn into the stitch opposite, make a chain long enough to go around the button, and then work a slip stitch into the next stitch, fasten off and weave that end in. And there we have finished our Rosie cardigan. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. And in the description box below this video, I will leave a link to where you can find the written pattern for this cardigan. And I will also leave links to my Twitter and Instagram accounts. So I always like to post photos and updates on there, especially Instagram. And I would love to see photos of your crochet work on there as well. And thank you again for watching. Bye.